The life you chose is not wrong. You just haven't built a system that complements it, that allows you to thrive inside of it. You're one of the most successful guys at your office, but your personal life has no architecture that allows it to thrive without these massive disruptions. It's like you just have grit, willpower, and caffeine and nicotine holding it together. And that only holds it together for so long. My name is Brian Panuzzo. I am a former bond trader turned executive health and performance coach. I know exactly why your health keeps losing to your calendar, and I help you build a system that fixes it. I know your world as a financial professional from the inside because I lived it for 20 years. Welcome back to the show. This is the Success Lift podcast, and I am your host, Brian, and I appreciate you being back with me. And I want to jump right into a story for you. It's story time. I want to take you back to the winter of 2015. It is 5 a.m. I am in Cresskill, New Jersey at my home, in my basement, where we didn't spend a whole lot of time. There was a spare bedroom down there. There was the Xbox that my son was just getting into playing as like a 6-year-old. I think we may not even have had it there for him yet, but that became where he hung out and played Xbox. And it was the place that I credit the beginning of a transformation for me. And why I credit it is because it was the quietest place in the house at 5 o'clock in the morning, or oftentimes earlier than that, to be fair. And it was the one place I knew I could get up early and go downstairs and get away from the bedrooms in the house, because even our bedrooms are on the second floor of the house, I guess technically the third floor if you want to consider the basement a floor. And even when you were downstairs on the main floor, it was very open and tall ceilings and beautiful setup, but voices carried, actions carried. You made some noise in the kitchen, and I felt like you could hear it up in the bedrooms. And so when I first started to get up a little bit earlier and focus on myself, because I had a bit of a crisis going on in my life, I went down to the living room a few times and realized I might have been being a little bit too loud. So I moved even further into the depths of the house and went down into the basement. The other reason why the basement was great for me was because there was a shower down there in the spare bathroom, and I took a cold shower every morning as well. Now that's not a prerequisite in order for you to change your life, but it was another action that I started to take. And why I'm telling you all this is because I decided in a moment of crisis in my life to start to change some of my actions. And I didn't wait for this magical motivational period to get going, where I was waiting for perfect timing and feeling like the environment was right. I had no other choice because my life went from, on the surface, being your very prototypical Wall Street professional, successful guy, big house in the burbs, commuting in and out of the city every day. Yeah, got your country club membership, successful on the board of trustees at your club, young member, and doing all the things that we wanted to do as a young family, appearing like I had it all figured out, to realizing that my life was not exactly the way I wanted to design it and wanted to live it at age 37 at that time. I think I had just turned 37. My mom had just passed away of ALS, which is a pretty horrific disease, especially the end of life for a person. And we were just coming off of that, and my wife had started to realize that I was not conducting myself in a manner that anybody would be really proud of, especially a wife being proud of her husband, and decided to let me know that it was not exactly how she wanted to spend the next 30 or 40 years of her life, living with a man who she knew was capable of more. And that isn't exactly the motivational message she delivered to me in the moment, but ultimately that's what she really was looking for. And so I didn't know what to do, and I decided to turn to something that I knew I could always rely on in the past, and that was fitness. And if I got honest with myself, which I did pretty quickly, I realized that I was a shell of my former athletic, scholarship, basketball athlete self. Somebody who was very fit for most of their life, who revolved their life around athletics and being in great shape and being a high performer. I had realized that I had let my body, the one thing that we carry around as our, walking business card, go pretty significantly. Now, not necessarily to the public, meaning I wasn't 300 pounds. I was 240 pounds, soft as hell. But I'm 6'6" for those of you who don't know. And so, you can carry around 240 pounds pretty easily and not look too bad, except when you take your shirt off at the pool, stuff like that. And you kind of look just like meh. And that's exactly how I looked. And more importantly, I felt way worse. I felt like I was 300 pounds. I was tired all the time. My body hurt, my joints hurt. I had constant back pain, knee pain. I blamed it on, my lot in life and my circumstances, which is what most people do. And, I realized that I built a life. And it was beating me. And that's why I called this podcast, effectively that title. I built the life that I was now complaining about and blaming for the results that I didn't have. And what I decided to do is I decided to take control. I decided to just do something. And actually, let me back that up, because I wasn't consciously making a choice to take control of my life in a moment of time and saying, this is it. This is the line in the sand for me. I was a bit desperate and I didn't quite know what to do. And fortunately, I found something by doing something. We're going to come back to that loop, that motivation trap, as I call it, in a few minutes, because it's the trap that I think keeps a lot of people, potentially you, in the same cycle that you're in. And so I realized that I had stopped, working out for a long period of time, or I was very inconsistent. I would try to, in air quotes, I just held the air quotes up, try to go to the gym. I would try to get to the gym later in the day after the kids went down, or I guess it was just my son at that point. I don't know if my daughter wasn't born yet. My daughter was born. She was 6 months old. So she was 6 months old. My son was 5 years old. And here I am trying to get to the gym at 7:30 p.m. after work when the kids are starting to go down and my wife's putting them to bed. I don't need to tell any young father how ridiculous that goal is to set and how unbelievably inconsistent you'll be with it. And so I said to myself, well, I can't go at 7:30, so I might as well get up a little bit earlier and see what I got. And when I started to get up, I realized, I can't get to the gym. I just didn't plan well enough. I didn't have a proper PM routine and shut down early enough. Well, I said to myself, let's make this as easy as possible. Let me just get up, go downstairs, find this little 20-minute high-intensity interval training app workout that I found online, and bust my ass for 15 minutes or so and get in a shower, turn it on hot, clean myself off, turn it to cold for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever I built it up to, come out of the shower feeling like, $1 million and get off to work. And like I said, I didn't do that because it was ideal. I did it because that's what I felt like I had. I felt like it's all I had. And what I found out is something that I hear a lot inside of the program that we have now for busy financial professionals who are extremely successful inside their careers. And I've said this before, not all of our clients are financial professionals. About 30% are non-financial professionals. 70% or so are historically and currently inside our program. But at the end of the day, high performance is high performance, high stress is high stress. And your job, if you're not a Wall Street bro, may look and feel a lot like the people that I work with and who I was. And a lot of you, I'm pointing at the camera, you are waiting for this environment to line up, to be conducive to you spending more time on yourself. And we'll talk about that trap in a moment. But what I realized is about 2 weeks in to this new routine that I had just started out of mere confusion and desperation was that I felt better. 2 weeks. 2 weeks I started to feel better. I couldn't explain it. I didn't really know exactly what was going on. I saw no physical change in my body. I just had more energy. I call it now your baseline. I raised my baseline, which I didn't know at the time. I didn't know that I was walking around operating at 60, 70% of my capacity, maybe a lot less most days. But when I got to 60 or 70, I kind of felt like that was it. Like that's what I had, that's all I had. And what I realized quickly was as soon as I started to develop some systems and a foundation in my life that centered around me, starting my day off on me with some fitness and health, I started to feel a whole lot better. And within 2 months, I started to look physically different. I lost about 15 pounds in 2 months. Started to get my confidence back as soon as my body started to look better. My confidence started to rise. When my confidence rose, I started to get motivated. When I got motivated, I wanted to do it more, right? And as I did it more and more, then my mind started to open up. I started to ask myself, is everything that I'm telling myself about my career and my circumstances true? And if I'm able to very simply make this basic change of like, I started going to bed a little bit earlier. At first, I really didn't, honestly. I just decided to wake up. I just was grinding through the wake up. Just woke up, forced myself to go downstairs. I knew as soon as I started moving, I had some evidence to support. As soon as I started moving around, I started to feel better. As soon as I got out of that shower, I felt like $1 million. I was like, it doesn't matter how tired I am getting out of bed. Within 5 minutes, I knew I was going to start to feel better. So I just sucked it up and did it. Had a little bit of grind and grit in me at first. Then I realized the feedback loop. Then I realized if I went to bed earlier, I could wake up and feel better and still get the same sensation and the same feedback that I was hoping for. And what do you know, after a while, I realized that I could wake up even earlier and get to a gym at 5 o'clock in the morning so that I could get a proper 45-minute workout, shower up real quick, get in the car, and be on the George Washington Bridge by about 6:15, 6:20. Because if you're on it any later, it starts to get a little bit of traffic. Can't get to the desk by 6:45 or 7 o'clock. And that was the routine that I began to develop for myself. But while I did that, while my baseline energy changed in a number of weeks and my physical body started to change in a number of months, which is what happens to the men who come inside of our program, after a few more months, after a bit more time, my mind started to change. I started to ask myself, what else am I capable of? What else could I do? How much more could I start to add to this simple equation that I seem to have made up out of thin air and found? And here's what I know about you, the guy who's listening right now, because you're a lot like me. I chose the career that I went into. I chose the life that I created. I chose the zip code I lived in. I talked last week about, your environment. And this is a natural flow from the environment that we create for ourselves to the things that we do inside of it and the life that we build, and then somehow blame for the results that we don't have. And there's a pattern interrupt that we'll talk about in a moment that I hope that you start to make a connection to and realize that things are the way they are because you've just been doing the same things over and over and over again. And in order for them to change, you just have to change what you're doing. Now, there's a process to change what you're doing so that it actually sticks. And those are the systems and the foundations and the structure that we build in a program like mine, the operating system, instead of just throwing something up against the wall and seeing if it stuck. Now, to be clear, I did that at first. I threw shit up against the wall. Things started to stick and I turned it into a formula for me that now works for the hundreds of men that have come through my program. But you chose everything that you have in your life right now. You chose the job, you chose the zip code you live in, which means you chose the commute that you have. You choose to travel. You say you don't, have a choice, but you do. You could say, I'm not going. Now I understand what the circumstances and the consequences of some of those choices would be. Not showing up to the client dinner, going home, not having those drinks. Nobody made you do it. Nobody made me do it. And then it started to beat me up. And it's beating you too. The life you chose is not wrong. You just haven't built a system that complements it, that allows you to thrive inside of it. And you're one of the most successful guys at your office. But your personal life has no architecture that allows it to thrive without these massive disruptions. It's like you just have like grit, willpower, and caffeine and nicotine holding it together. And that only holds it together for so long. Now, when I say you chose it, I don't get all sensitive and defensive. I understand. I didn't know a choice at 21 out of college was going to create all of the results that I had at 37, 16 years later. I wanted a lot of it. But if I got honest, which I did, and started to analyze it, I didn't want it all. I didn't want the broken down body. I didn't want the vices. I didn't want the addictions, the gambling, the drugs, the alcohol in excess, unable to avoid, moments that I didn't feel like I needed it. I didn't want the disconnection in my marriage. I didn't want my wife coming to me and saying I'm not so sure about us and our future together. We had 2 young kids. I didn't want to live that life over and over and over again on a weekly basis. I wanted a lot of it, but I felt like I had to accept it all, like it was a total package. But what I realized is that I could start to cherry pick the things that I wanted and substitute the ones that I didn't. Instead of blaming my circumstances, my environment, I started to take responsibility of it. And that's the false solution that I, for lack of a better phrase, that I think many people are like waiting around for magically. The only fix you see is like leaving the career. Again, remember, I said this last week. I did not leave my Wall Street career in order to sort my life out. I did it in the same seat. I did it in the environment. So I have firsthand knowledge that the environment that created all these troubles, and again, I said this last week, it didn't really create it, I did. But for sake of you feeling like, you're not the victim here, the environment that created all of my problems is the same environment in which I solved them. And so you cannot look me in the eye and tell me that it's your circumstances. You can't tell me it's your commute. You can't tell me it's your job function. You can't tell me it's your travel or your client dinners. You can't tell me it's the busy weekends with the kids. You can't tell me any of this stuff. Cool story, bro. I will laugh at you because I had it all too. And so do dozens and dozens of people inside my program right now, and hundreds that have come through before it. And that's the trap that I think people fall into. And so the solution is not new job, less travel, shorter commute. You can do it that way. Like I said last week, move back into New York City, move back into Chicago, go get an apartment, be away from your family for 4 days a week. You're not going to do that stuff. So this change in your head, it goes into the someday bucket, the 1 day bucket. And every week you wait for things to slow down, you run another week at this suboptimal energy level. 50%, 60%, 70% if you're lucky. And the mistake that you make is that you feel like that's actually 100% for you. And this new life, I'm telling you, is closer than you think. Because it was way closer than I ever thought. I didn't think within 2 weeks that I would start to feel better. I now expect it, but the guys who let me know, who start with us, who start to make some simple changes, some of the basic foundational changes we make right away when we begin working with a new executive, 2 weeks in, sometimes the scale's lower, sometimes it's not. Sometimes they feel like they're hitting their stride, and sometimes they don't. But almost every time they feel better about what they're doing. They feel like they have more energy. They understand when their baseline is that their baseline is now higher than it was. That they're operating at a different level. It literally takes 2 weeks. You don't need a new life. You don't need a new career. You need to actually run the one that you currently have. You don't have energy and motivation problems. You have a system problem. You've never built a system for your life outside the office. At the office, we audit everything obsessively. You have processes. You do the same things every day. Whether you literally do the same things every day or you have a job like I did where some small variables change, but at a higher level, 30,000 of you, we're doing the same things every day. And if something were to go wrong with your results at the office, you audit the process. You figure out whether or not you're still doing the things that create a success for you. So you audit everything else pretty much obsessively in your life. Not this. Not this. And so there's this motivation trap that people are waiting to get motivated, as opposed to starting to do things that create a little bit of results. That's the magic formula. Do things that create quick, short-term, quick results, but have long-term foundations. Build long-term foundational progress. But as you do it, get some wins. When you do that, you're able to connect the dots pretty quickly. That I did this, I started to change this. Wow, I'm not 100% sure what's going on, but I feel better. I feel more in control. I feel like I have a better system in place. Guess what that creates? A little bit of enthusiasm and a little bit of motivation that you might be onto something new. And when you're enthusiastic and motivated, guess what you do more of? The thing. You do the thing again. And when you do the thing again, you start to get more of the results. And when you get more of the results, you get more motivated. When you get more motivated, you show up again. And it's this cycle around and around. And so there's the discipline myth that you have to start to have more discipline in order to do these things. You don't. You need to have better systems. Do not wait to get motivated. Do not hope that the discipline bug comes down from the heavens and strikes you so that you're able to now wake up early and go to bed early and eat better food and not have your environment affect you. It's the environment, so change the environment. Whether you have to bring things into the existing one or separate yourself and disassociate, compartmentalize, like we talked a bit about last week in some of the different categories of your environment. And so the sequence here is 2 weeks. Like, give me 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks of doing something different consistently. Not like I'm going to try it for a day and I'm going to take 3 days off. 2 weeks. I'm not saying you got to get up and go down into your basement and take a cold shower and sweat your nuts off. Do something else. I don't care. I got ideas. Reach out to me if you need some help. But before anything changes externally, you will start to feel a difference internally in just as little as 2 weeks. More in control. 2 months, you're going to start to look different. You do the same thing over and over again for 2 months and don't take any time off. Don't take these like little breaks. You earned Saturday and Sunday like because you were good for 5 days. What are we talking about here? Your whole life's been a cheat meal. You need a cheat meal on Saturday after being good for five days? Now, I'm not saying you can't enjoy yourself, and we don't have processes and strategies inside of a program like mine or other great ones out there that allow you to eat some of these types of foods or to have rest days. Of course, we have rest days. We don't go hard every single day. But when you do start to do these things consistently, you're going to notice a difference. You're going to notice a difference in the mirror. The mirror is going to start to confirm what you already felt, what you've been feeling for the last 2 weeks. Give that a little bit more time. Don't let your foot up off the gas. Then the belief starts to shift. Then your mind takes over. And that's when I start to get excited. The hair starts to rise on my arms because I've realized this now several times. The moment you know that you're capable of more, the moment that you realize that you've been telling yourself a story, the moment that you know that there is a completely different life that you're capable of living, and it doesn't require a 2-week vacation, super slow time in the market, or anything else than you showing up and doing the same thing you've been doing every single day. That's when it becomes this rocket ship, this hockey stick that starts to bend upwards. That's when it gets exciting. And so to reiterate, the cycle that you're in, you built it. You built this life the same way I built mine. It doesn't have to beat you, though. The way out isn't a new job. The way out isn't a shorter commute. The way out isn't you not going to, 3 to 4 client, dinners or events a week. Now, should we evaluate some of the ones that you're going to blindly? Yeah, we should. Could you operate differently at them and still be very effective? You could. These are things that we do. These are things that we help our clients with. But it starts with something as simple as 20 minutes. It could be 15, it could be 35. If you have more time, do it. I just had 20, that was it. Or that's what I told myself I had. A decision. 2 weeks of not lying to yourself. 2 weeks will turn into 2 months. 2 months, I'm raising my hand right now, can turn into 11 years. Can turn into a new career, although you don't need to. Can turn into a dramatically better body, in the best shape of my life. Turn into a marriage that is now thriving, that was on the brink of divorce. That's also me. Turn into you feeling much more in control of your circumstances. That's also me too. But it's the same, similar results that my clients get. I guess the only question I would ask you to think about, if you're still here and listening and engaged and wondering what you're capable of, is whether you're ready to find out. Because it takes one small action of you making a choice to start to do some things differently. This episode hit home for you and you're not exactly sure what to do, reach out to me. I'd love to help you with a couple of first steps. You can email me at brian@thesuccesslift.com, or you can text me at 917-709-4283. I appreciate you guys. We'll see you back here next week.